Hi guys, welcome to Wanna Talk with Brandy. It's so good to be here today, and I'm so grateful that you decided to join me. I want to say thank you to those of you that are continuing to reach out with your food stories and with topic ideas for future videos and podcast episodes. I'm overwhelmed and blown away by all of the kindness, all of the great feedback, and all of the honesty with the stories that you guys are sharing. So I just want to say thank you for that. I hope that you guys are liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel, to my videos, and to my Instagram. So please follow me over there. Keep liking and subscribing. Keep sending me ideas. Keep sharing your stories with me. I'm going to talk a little bit about another idea that I have at the end of this short video. So please stay tuned all the way to the end in case that's something that you might be interested in. So I want to spend a little time today talking about food grief. It's something that I mentioned in one of my other videos, and I think it's something that's important for us to just dive into a little bit deeper. As I've heard from some of you, I know this is a topic that many of us can relate to and many of us are struggling with. And so I think there's some value in just spending a little time kind of making the parallel between other types of grief and food grief, and also, okay, now what? What are we supposed to do with that? So I think that what makes most sense is really looking at food grief through the same lens as other types of grief. And one of the kind of main ways that many people look at grief or the process of grief is with using Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief. I know that's something that many people are familiar with. There are some other different ideas about how people move through grief, and there's not just one right or wrong way. That's not something that can actually be proven or disproven. It's just different ideas about it. So the 5 stages of grief as we think about food, I think makes the most sense. And so I want to just kind of break that down. So when we think about the relationship with food, losing the relationship that we've had with food, again, as we have these conversations, I'm thinking about obviously GLP-1 medications and that changed relationship, but also anybody that's struggling with any kind of food issues, allergies, food sensitivities, other types of medical conditions that require limiting or changing the kinds of foods that you eat, people that are just trying to eat in a different way than they have in the past for their own health. All of these can still create this feeling of loss as it comes to the relationship that we've had with food. So let's go through the stages and kind of relate them to food and eating. So the first stage is denial, and I know for myself that there's definitely been a period of denial where I still have, tried to eat the same kinds of foods or eat the same amount. I still, even to this day, there are times where I will put, the same amount of food on my plate or in a bowl that I previously did. Even though part of my brain knows you're not going to be able to eat all of that, I still do it anyway. I'll still take that same amount of food thinking that I'm going to be able to eat that. So definitely some denial for me around, what I can and can't eat. Anger, I touched on that in other videos, but definitely a feeling of anger around not being able to eat some of the things that I would like to be able to eat, or not feeling the way I want to feel after I eat certain foods, or maybe feeling sick after I eat some foods because I maybe did push myself a little bit. So there's definitely been some anger. Bargaining, this one maybe it's a little more difficult for some of us to draw a parallel there, but I do think there have been times I can say for myself for sure where I have tried to eat a certain food and tell myself, I'm going to eat this, and then tomorrow I'll eat something different. I'll eat something healthier. Or if I can just eat this ice cream, even though I know it's probably going to not make me feel well, yeah, so I think there's definitely a little bit of that thought of, bargaining. If I do this, then maybe I can do this later, or somehow just bargain my way through being able to eat something that I want to be able to eat. There's definitely been a lot of sadness. I've touched on that in other videos. I know this is something that many of you can relate to because you've shared that with me in some of the feedback that I've been getting. So sadness for the loss of the relationship, for not being able to elicit the same kind of emotions that you once did through eating, through certain foods, favorite foods, comfort foods, just not feeling the same when eating those foods, or not being able to engage socially in the same way that you once did, and just feeling the sadness around that. The last stage is acceptance. I think that is, for most people, especially as it relates to food, just having a full awareness that you're okay, and that it's okay that the relationship has changed, but it's still okay. And I saw a quote that I loved, and I can't give credit to who said it because I just saw it online, long ago, and I've applied it to grief in general, to mental health and wellness. And the quote is, "It's not about getting over it, it's about learning to live with it." And I think that's so important when we think about the relationship with food. It's, it's not about getting over it, that you can't eat the way that you used to anymore. It's about learning to live with it. This is my new reality. And that's acceptance. Just being able to say, yes, this is my reality. It's not the same as it used to be, but I'm okay. I'm still okay. So I'm inviting all of you to think about where you are on this journey around food grief, and keep in mind that these stages of grief are not linear, and not everybody goes through all of the stages. Whether it's about food grief or any kind of grief, not everybody goes through the stages. Some people will maybe only have a couple of stages that they actually pass through. And you don't have to pass through one stage in order to get to the next stage. And you might jump from denial to sadness to anger to it feels like there's some acceptance, and then you wake up one day and then you're feeling angry again or sad again. There's no right or wrong way, and there's not one way. It's not linear. Not everybody's journey with grief will look the same. So that's something important to keep in mind, because it also allows you to give yourself a little bit of grace when, maybe you felt like you were moving toward acceptance. Excuse me. And then you feel like maybe now you're back to, gosh, I'm feeling angry again, or I'm feeling more sad around food these days. So that's okay. The bigger question, I think, is, where am I on this journey, and what am I supposed to do about that? How do I engage with my grief? I know that I'm having grief. What am I supposed to do about that? So I want to invite you to engage the 3 C's. So this is just a kind of a well-known way of processing grief that works well for most people. And so the 3 C's stand for choose, connect, and communicate. So choose, when you think about food and grief, choosing for yourself means choosing the foods that you know are best for you, making the best decision for you, choosing whether or not you want to engage in some sort of social activity where there's going to be food, choosing whether you want to have food if you're having a gathering at your house, whether you go to a particular restaurant or not, whether you want to eat a meal or not. You get to choose. So allowing yourself to lean into that you do have a choice. You get to choose. So that's the first C. The second C is connect. And that means allowing yourself to fully kind of lean into the grief and connect with other people who are having shared experiences with you. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm going to talk more about that in a second, but don't avoid the fact that you're having some grief. Allow yourself to lean into it and try to let that fuel you in connecting with other people who might understand, who might be having similar experiences. And then the last C stands for communicate, and that's just talking to people. So sharing your journey, which some of you have done, and I'm so grateful for that, and that's what I'm trying to do here as well. But communicating with other people about the choices that you're making in whatever way feels safe and comfortable to you. It's okay for you to say, you know, I'm going to pass on that event because I know that it's going to be largely about eating and I'm just not up for it. I don't want to have to answer a lot of questions or draw a lot of attention to myself. Or communicating when your partner says, hey, I'm hungry, can we go to this restaurant? And you know that that's a place that just has a lot of maybe unhealthy options for you, saying, yeah, I would love to go with you, but I can't eat there. Can we pick a different place? So just communicating your needs so that you are actually feeling more in control of this process. So that's you kind of being in charge of your grief and allowing yourself to lean into it instead of avoiding it. So that leads me to the last thing, and then I'm going to hop off here. So I'm going to start a support group around food grief. I think it's important. I think I've received enough feedback from people that I think there's interest in that, and I think there's a need for it. So I'm going to start an online virtual support group. I'm thinking it will be bi-weekly, so please watch on Instagram for more to come on that. I will probably try to have something around that by next week, toward the end of the week. So if you have interest in joining an online support group, I think I will make that, cameras optional. If you don't want people to know who you are, that's okay. You can stay anonymous, but if you're not, opposed to openly talking about you and people knowing who you are, that's okay too. We can make that an option. But if that's something that you think you would have interest in, please either respond here, share it with me on Instagram, DM me, let me know, because I think there's a lot of energy around this and I want to keep it going. So please be looking for that in the near future. Thanks for joining me today. Please like and subscribe to my channel, to this video, to my other videos. Follow me over on Instagram, and I hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye.